Hi, this is the second video in a series in which we will start out work on the machines. To make it easier for you, I will put in the description the history of the comments I typed and links to the articles I used to create this episode. Today I'm going to show you how to add an interface in VirtualBox, update our system, install guest additions, clone the server, and set addresses for both of them. An additional interface in the VirtualBox will be set just for static addressing. We will leave the previous one through which you can connect to the internet and download additional packages and updates. Guest Additional Tools is a package that allows for streamlined management of VirtualBox virtual machines. It will allow us to seamlessly copy commands between machines and also paste longer scripts. After this introduction, let's move on to adding the interface. With the right mouse button, we select the settings, then go to the network and leave the first adapter set to not unchanged. We select tab for the second adapter and check enable network adapter. We choose internal network. We can change the name of this network, but I will leave the default name. We start the server and enter our credentials. Start the terminal. After typing IP addr, we get a list of interfaces. The first interface is a loopback address 127.0.0.1. This address is universally used as a reference to host itself on the other machines as well. Another interface, np0s3, is the default interface. Nowadays, the nomenclature associated with newer versions of Red Hat derived systems has adopted this name. Sometimes you may encounter irregular names such as ATH3 or Ethernet3. You can read more about it in the link in the description. The last entry is the new interface which we added, np0s8. This is the name of an interface that has its own identifier in the form of a MAC address, but does not have a logical IP address assigned to it. We will change this later. In the next step, we will update the server. We will use the root account for this using the command sudo su and the password of the current user. The hyphen allow you to keep the root environment variables, which when working later reduces the trouble with conflicting permissions to certain files or directories. Sudo itself means to perform an action as a superuser do, while su refers to substitute user. Let's now check the availability of updates using dnf check update. Green color indicates packages that can be updated. We proceed to update by typing dnf update and then confirming with Y. Now we will move on to installing the components related to the guest additions. I accidentally did not turn on recording when I made the changes, so I will repeat those steps with you again. Type dnf install epel-release and then dnf update refresh. This will allow you to download the necessary tools from the epel repository. You download them by using the long command dnf install dkms kernel-devel, kernel-headers, gcc, make zip2, perl elfutils-libelf-devel. Next, you need to verify that the installed version of kernel-devel is the same as the current kernel. On the devel side, we will use the command rpm -q kernel-devel. For the system, we will check with the command uname-r. If there is any difference, we update the kernel with dnf update kernel and star. If we already have these steps behind us, I would recommend rebooting the system by typing reboot. After rebooting, or if you like risk without it, in the bar on the top of the screen, select devices and then insert guest additions CD image. After a while, the installation should finish. With VBox Manage, you can check which version of VirtualBox Manage has been installed. If it doesn't display the information to you, as it did to me, then I would recommend a reboot. Alternatively, select the option to upgrade guest additions from the devices bar and reboot again. Also, from the devices menu, you can choose the drag and drop. Let's select it to work bidirectional. Now, when copying a simple text like bread from Notepad, we should be able to paste it to the console. After those operations, we can turn off the machine. Now we can proceed to create a clone of our deactivated server. We select it from the VirtualBox list, use the right mouse button to expand the options and select the second option, clone. We will change the name of the server. For me it will be Rocky9 client. From the list of options available for MAC address policy, we choose to generate new MAC addresses for all network adapters. It is also worth mentioning that at the top of the screen you can see a green plus with a camera. This is a snapshot which allows you to save the current state of the machine. With this option, when you create such a backup, you will be able to return to the state before something broke. I recommend performing snapshots regularly. Once the cloning process is complete, a new machine should appear for us to start. Now I will get into changing the desktop background and terminal color to make it easier to us to distinguish between the main server and the client server. You are most likely to be able to make it with a graphic user interface. We can come to the last part of today's material. Using ip-addr as before, we will check the available interfaces and their assigned addresses. We are interested in modifying np0s8. To do this, we will use the relatively new tool Network Manager. Previously, the configuration was often based on saving data to files, so again, the desire to compile with the recommended standards require us to adapt. With Network Manager console, like nmcli console, we can display the active interfaces, and with nmcli general status if we are connected to the network. To check our physical interfaces, we need to type nmcli device status. We will then see that np0s8 is not connected. Let's add a logical connection to the interface. We will do this using the command nmcli connection at con-name np0s8 type Ethernet IP4 172.18.21.1/16 GW4 stands for gateway, and that's be 172.18.21.254. In this command we add logical Ethernet connection np0s8, which has IPv4 address 172.80.21.1, mask 255.255.00, that's /16, and network gateway with address 172.80.21.254. I gave such a specific mask so that it would be easier for you to distinguish the main server from the client. For example, if we had a network with an address of 172.80.21.0/24, then the broadcast address would be 172.80.21.255. It is used by all devices on the network to send and receive broadcast messages. The default gateway is usually the last address in the pool. .255 is used in broadcasting, so we choose .254. The gateway address is the address of the device to which we send messages from outside our subnet. Usually the address of the router that connects the subnet to the external network. You can learn more about the ways of static addressing from the article in the description. The syntax associated with Network Manager may seem complex at first, but with practice and over time it should become quite natural to you. With the tab key you can call up completion prompts for comments if you forget something. I do not want to explain in too much detail all the issues related to the basics of networking or addressing. I think that if someone needs to gain knowledge on this topic, you can look for it on the internet. Getting back to the main topic of configuring static addressing, it is totally worth adding for our purposes the address of DNS server, domain name server, using nmcli conmod np0s8 ip4 DNS 8888. This is the address of the server used by Google. After editing our interface, we can disable it and enable it. In this way, the changes we made will be implemented. I would recommend caution due to the fact that you now have direct access to server from VirtualBox, but in other conditions you could sometimes accidentally disable yourself the interface, thanks to which you connect to the virtual server. So let's type nmcli condown np0s8 and after that nmcli conup np0s8 and check if changes have been made with nmcli device status, nmcli conshow and IP addr. As we can see in the connection information, all interfaces are connected to some kind of network. Also, we can see that connections themselves are assigned to dedicated physical devices. We also see that np0s8 has received the information we entered. Now we will perform similar operations for the client. Since I cloned the master server after setting the address, thanks to my artful video edit, you didn't notice this, I proceed to modify the already existing interface. For this approach, I will use nmcli conmod np0s8, IP4 address 172.80.21.21/24, and after that enter nmcli condown np0s8 and nmcli conup np0s8. If you did everything according to the order shown in this video, then on the client server you should type nmcli connection add con name np0s8 type ethernet ip4 172.80.21.21/24 gateway 4 172.18.21 to 54. After that, nmcli con mod np0s8 ip4 dns 8888 con down np0s8 and con up np0s8 and check the change with IP addr. Now I will leave you in cliffhanger pending the answer to the question of wherever those two servers see each other. I hope you have learned something new. If you have questions, I hope the links I have written down in the description will help you. Until then, see you next week. You can also try to write other questions, opinions or hints as well. I will try to look after them, but I'm not a big fan of social media. Yeah, so cheers.